Hello, hello. Welcome to Mind Blowing Thursdays. Let's jump right into it with today's meditation. This time, I want to do something a little bit different. So, I'm going to um, introduce the meditation with a passage from my book that actually, this is from The Anger Myth, that actually talks about my very first meditation. And then we're going to do the same one that I did. Okay. So, this talks about the first time I walked into the meditation center. This was back in 2010. A middle aged woman walked in looking like she just stepped out of a J. Crew catalog with khaki pants and a pale pink top. She wrinkled her nose and said, "Well, since you're the only one here, maybe we can change the meditation I had planned for today. I don't know if you're going to like it." I didn't understand. Why wouldn't I like the meditation? I assured her that I was game for whatever meditation she had in mind. She asked me if I wanted to sit in chairs or on the floor. I opted for the floor, so we sat on pillows on the hardwood floor. Then she dropped the bomb. Today's meditation is about death. Death, of course, because my life's a disaster, I thought. I smiled at her and said, "That's perfect." I didn't know anything about meditation, but somehow I knew that focusing on death would help me appreciate my life. She explained that while people intellectually know they will die someday, they go through life believing each day when they wake up that they still have time until the day arrives when they no longer have time and they are surprised. She gave me a mantra to say with her. I could die today. We repeated it over and over. I could die today. I could die today. We sat in silence. I felt a shift inside of me. It was like the scene at the beginning of The Wizard of Oz when Dorothy realizes all she had to do was return home was to click her heels together 3 times and repeat, "There's no place like home. There's no place like home. There's no place like home." I realized I could access my internal spiritual home anytime I needed to. After our session ended, I gave her a hug, and the warmth of her embrace startled me. I nearly skipped down the gravel road back to my car. My life was changed forever. It was like a near death experience, but I felt I had come alive. I became more curious. What else don't I know? I started taking classes every week, studying every day, and exploring more healing and wisdom traditions and modalities. The woman in the pink top taught me that life is short and small hugs can make a big difference. We're still friends today. I'm forever grateful for the moment that shift took place in my life. If you follow the lessons of the anger myth, which is what I'm reading from, this moment may be one you'll always remember. The same way I remember sitting at my kitchen table and Googling the word meditation for the first time. So often we think our lives change in big moments, like new jobs, new babies, or graduations. But many times it's the tiny shifts that change our course. When you come to understand the anger myth for yourself, your life will never be the same. It will take you down a path that you didn't know existed, on a road to freedom, joy, and authentic happiness. So, I wanted to read that to prepare you for our meditation. So, let's start with a few breaths just for grounding, and then we'll go into the meditation. So, bring your palms together, generate some warmth here. Take your right hand to your heart, take your left hand to your belly button, and then go ahead and inhale through the nose. Let the belly fill. Exhale with a sigh. Let's do that again. Inhale through the nose, let the belly fill, and exhale. And then the last one, inhale through the nose, let the belly fill, and release it with a sigh. Now take the left hand to cover the right, And just take a moment to process the little passage that I read. Any other emotions that rise to the surface, or your intention for being in this space today, whether you're watching live or you're watching the recording. What made you show up here? So if you think of one word, it could be peace, it could be self-love, it could be grounding, maybe wholeness or wellness. What word rises to the top for you? And if the conversation on death resonates with you, then maybe the word is fulfillment or purpose or passion, right? Those words that help us to live without regret. So see what rises for you. And then press the palms into your heart and plant that wisdom in your body, in your heart, in your soul. And then we'll release that. So wherever you are, whatever kind of seat you're in, whether it's cross-legged or if you're sitting in a chair like me, you want your back to be straight. So a straight back typically means that the hips are pressed back in your chair, and then we can all take our shoulders up and back together. Chin is neutral, right? So it's not dropped, it's not up, it's neutral. And then from here, bring your awareness to the crown of your head. So your eyes can be open with a soft gaze, or they can be closed. Either works just fine. Palms can be up or down, or you might enjoy the chin mudra, which is where the thumbs and the index fingers touch. Typically, you'll relax the tops of the hands in your lap with the fingers facing up. So find what feels good for you. And then let's go back to the crown of the head. Allow that area to be warm and relaxed. And then bring the awareness to the forehead. Let the forehead be smooth and soft. So no lines, no furrows. Relax the eyebrows. Relax the eyelashes. Bring your awareness to your temples and relax the temples. And then move the mouth around, maybe taking a little duck posture, a little kissy face to one side and then the other. And then blow some air into your cheeks. Release it. So release the jaw. Notice if the tongue is stuck to the roof of the mouth. And you can release that. See how that feels. Soften the throat. Relax the neck and shoulders. The upper arms, the forearms, release the hands. Let your chest be soft. Unclench the belly. Let your belly relax. Relax the hips and the thighs. Relax the calves and the feet. And then scan the body from head to toe. Noticing if there's any place that needs to release. And then bring your awareness to your breath. So try not to change the way you're breathing, just notice it. Notice that sensation of air as it enters and leaves the body, right at the tip of the nostrils. And then introduce the mantra, I could die today. So you might want the mantra to follow the breath. Inhaling, I could. Exhaling, die today. Inhaling, I could. Exhaling, die today. I could die today. Following your breath, allowing the mantra. Initially, there will be some resistance. Your mind is probably saying, oh, of course not today, of course not. But you don't actually know. So allow the mantra to explore the possibility. I could die today. I could die today. I could die today. Go ahead and explore the mantra on your own. If your mind wanders, just bring it right back to the breath. Bring it back to your mantra, the object of your meditation. On this idea, I could die today. I could die today. I could die today. Your mind wanders, bring it back to the breath. Bring it back to the mantra, the object of our meditation. I could die today. I could die today. Just a few more breaths here. And then gently release your object of your meditation. Come back to your normal levels of awareness. your eyes are closed, you can go ahead and open them. All right. So today's topic is learning life and death from Diane Keaton and D'Angelo. So, as of the date of this recording, which is October 16th, 2025, in the past week, we lost two amazing artists that I really appreciated. So, I grew up with both of them. Um, D'Angelo was a huge neo soul artist, really got very popular in the early 2000s. And then Diane Keaton, I don't know, she just seemed to be everywhere as an actress. You know, she was in First Wives Club in 1996, and then lots of stuff before that, and lots of stuff after that. So Diane Keaton passed away suddenly of pneumonia October 11th at the age of 79. And then D'Angelo died from pancreatic cancer 3 days later, October 14th, and he was only 51. So it got me thinking, you know, how do we process death? What do we learn from death? What do we learn from recognizing our own mortality? I often talk about the things that people say on their deathbeds, the regrets, right? Oh, I wish I had made up with this family member, or I wish I had traveled more. I wish I had read more books. I wish I had spent more time with my children. You know, I wish I had studied a language or music or whatever those things are that people regret. A good way to allow yourself to have that experience while you're still alive is the meditation that we just did, right? Because we, just like I read in the book, intellectually, we always think we have more time until we don't have time. And then we act like we're surprised, like we thought we were never going to die. You know, most of us kind of live like we think we're going to be here forever, even though we know intellectually that we're not, right? So that meditation allows us to explore the things that perhaps we really want in our lives. And I was researching a little bit about Diane and about D'Angelo, and I thought it was really interesting. So everybody remembers, um, at least in my age group, the D'Angelo video called Untitled, where he sings, you know, how does it feel? And he is completely naked. And it's this gorgeous video. His body was this beautiful work of art. And even the song's lyrics, how does it feel, was just very sexual and sensual. And he instantly became this sex symbol. Now, apparently, you know, from different interviews that were done with him and with other people from his team, apparently he really didn't want to be a sex symbol. And then it got me thinking, what decisions do we make in our lives, you know, our work lives or our home lives, that move us onto a path that we don't want to be on? And, you know, I've done it. We all do it, right? We may make decisions without thinking them through very well, or we may get stuck and not make a decision at all, which is, I think, the worst thing, where you just don't do anything, right? Um, so it could be like that, or it could be we make a decision because it's like what other people wanted. You know, maybe with the D'Angelo example, it might have been his team who thought it was a really great idea, but maybe it didn't really sit with his spirit. You know, I read that there were when he would perform, people would say, "Take your shirt off," and he really, it wasn't what he liked. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, we have lots of sex symbols and we love them, but it wasn't what he wanted. So when do we make decisions that take us out of alignment? And it could be maybe taking on a new job or a promotion. Maybe it's a business partnership. It could be a new project or a relationship that you're going into, or a new friendship. It could even be like a new exercise routine or workout, or some sort of health treatment that you undergo. So it really made me think about, okay, when do we check in with ourselves to see, is this in alignment? Um, And then kind of the opposite of that, what decisions do we make that really do feel good in our spirit and become like this amazing legacy for us, whether it's through art like, D'Angelo and Diane Keaton were both artists in their own way, right? One a musician and one an actor, um, or in other types of creations, because we are all creators, whether we are musicians or actors, or we create in other ways. Maybe we paint pictures, or we write words, or we create YouTube videos, or we give birth to children. Um, or we paint our bedroom, or we journal, where you're all creating, if we're crafting, or I should say this, we should all be creating. So if I say that and you think, well, I don't create anything, start creating. Find out where your desire for creation shows up. It could be creating a cake. I love to cook, you know? So it could be creating in the kitchen. It could be forming a business. It could be teaching a class. Every time I teach a class, I get to create it. I have retreats coming up. I get to create those. So there should always be some way that you are creating in your life. I talked about D'Angelo. He made this wonderful music that he's left behind. Lady or Brown Sugar or Entitled, which I already talked about. Diane Keaton is leaving these wonderful films behind. And that's not their only legacy. Of course, they leave more than that. I don't know them personally, so I can talk about, some of the things that we see. Some of the ones that I actually write about in my book, The Anger Myth, are like Sarah Blakely's company Spanx, which they just had their 25th anniversary, or Pinky Cole's company, Slutty Vegan. It doesn't have to be a company, right? It could be delivering the perfect talk. I speak professionally, but even before that, I would speak in work meetings. You know, um, I I'm trying to think when my daughter was in school, leading conversations in her classroom or in nonprofit work that I've done. So we have opportunities to create talks, to create maybe a piece of music, maybe a poem, maybe a song. So, what decisions do we make that allow us to feel good in our spirit and leave this legacy of creativity, of creations behind us? Now, I'll say, my goodness, I started my business in 2019. I would say maybe around 2017 or 2018, I really started dreaming. And what came to me, I am like a writer by birth. That's my thing. I'm kind of like, a poet and you don't know it. That's me. So that's where like I really fall naturally. But I remember thinking, I wanted freedom. I was working as a financial advisor. I wanted freedom. I wanted alignment because I knew I was feeling out of alignment. Um, I started learning a lot about socially responsible investments because that's where I was starting to feel more in alignment. And then the third thing was effortless abundance. So sometimes you'll see me sign off to my newsletters and stuff like that, where I'll say, I wish you freedom, alignment, and effortless abundance, because I think everybody wants that. We all want to feel free. In Buddhism, we say everybody wants freedom from suffering. We want to be happy and free from suffering. But I think part of that is this desire just to be free, to be able to do what we want, when we want, with whom we want, all from a place of love and compassion. I'm not talking about doing terrible things, but having the freedom to be able to spend our time doing the things that we want to do. And then that alignment, like the story that I told about D'Angelo. I mean, I can't imagine not having that beautiful piece of art that he made in that video Untitled. But then I wonder, how often do we really want to feel in alignment with our values? Like if it were me, I love seeing that video of D'Angelo, but I could see how that could have been difficult. Like if I had a video of me when I was in my 20s with nothing on, even if it was a beautiful work of art, I could still see that it's like, it might feel a little funny. Um, so yes, freedom, alignment, and I think everybody wants abundance, but what price do we pay? Do we want to have only financial abundance, or do we want to have abundance of love and of relationships and of connection and of spirituality and of joy? We want abundance of everything without it being depleting. Sometimes people have the money, but then they don't have the relationships, or they don't have their access to their own time, right? So anyway, I was thinking about that when I was thinking about this idea of learning life and death from Diane Keaton and D'Angelo, just because it's so top of mind right now. Freedom, alignment, effortless abundance. That's what I wish all of you, and I also wish it for myself. I do feel like since I first put that dream in my heart in 2016, that I am here. I feel free. I feel aligned. I feel abundant. But it didn't just happen. It took work, and it it took time. It took awareness. It took building these things inside of myself. All right. So I'm going to read you a quote from Khalil Gibran. For life and death are one, even as the river and the sea are one. For life and death are one, even as the river and the sea are one. And I'm going to remind you of the questions that I asked. So the first one, what decisions do we make at home or at work that move us on a path we don't want to be on? The second, what decisions have we made that feel good in our spirit and become amazing legacy for us as art or creations for others? So a couple things to think about. Let's go ahead and close out. So rub your palms together. Take your right hand to your heart. Take your left hand to your belly. Inhale through the nose. Let the belly fill. And exhale with a sigh. Again, inhale through the nose. Let the belly fill. And exhale. And the last one, inhale through the nose, let the belly fill. And exhale with a sigh. All right, so if you're watching me on YouTube, please like and subscribe. I would love to see your comments. I am working on growing my YouTube channel so that these meditations and lessons and breath work can reach more people and serve more people. And if you are not getting my newsletter, it is called Mind Blowing Monday 123. It goes out every morning via email and also on LinkedIn. So if you are not getting that, you can go ahead and register for that on my website, trishahjelroberts.com or mindblowinghappiness.com. You will get one quote, 2 reflection questions, and 3 ways to lead with joy each week. It'll also keep you updated on in-person events and retreats that I have coming up. So get a hold of some of that. I wish you freedom, alignment, and effortless abundance. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.